and roll, and I like it. I like it. Hello, everybody. Yes, the button says it's live. How are you doing? Happy Monday to you. Bosto to one and all, and Bosto and ever we can expand upon it as well. And favor be unto us all. Man, am I looking good today? Y'all are looking good too. I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm looking at myself coming and going. Shows that time is merely conceptual in its perception of being one-dimensional. But yeah, anyway, so hope you're looking as well. I can, let me see, I'll just, yeah. Y'all looking good. Y'all looking good. Hello, David Barry. How are you doing, my good friend? David Castle, Grandpa Brian, and Pamela. Nina the Mystic. How are you, my dear? Hey, Cass. How you doing, hon? Good to see you. Twisted Isby. Greetings. Sobe. Hello. Good to see you. Hey, Deborah. Good to see you as well. Susie Q. How are you? Candy Apples, Hillard, and man, just Lost in Space. I saw your comment earlier. It's interesting. Yeah, so if the Earth and moon and sun didn't move, I mean, if we just literally stood stationary in space, would time be relevant then? It's an interesting concept because if you carry that out, we'll just do it Lost in Space. We'll just carry that out opening up today. This will be our first pitch. Then how would the genes know how to age? You know, they're finding in the mitochondrial DNA of us, we ain't all the same, but more importantly, they're showing clear manipulation. Yeah. You know, if someone manipulates you, they ain't your friend, honey. Yeah, just get up and say, bye. Bye, Felicia. Yeah, because, you know, if our genes have been manipulated to grow old before our time, you know, and listen, we'll split the discussion even further. People say, well, I wouldn't want to live 500 years. Not in this current reality. Who would? However, if Shambhala, you know, Elysium, Shangri-La, Nirvana, if they existed, well, yeah, you would want to spend as much time on this physical plane accomplishing whatever it is that you want to do. I think some people can get their missions done in 10 years, where others will take 10,000 years. It's the individual's path. But getting back to that whole thing, so if we could live what we're supposed to, listen, our bodies, as they are right now, as they come out of the chute, so to speak, are designed to last at least 1,500 years. 150 should be simply a walk in the park. I see that, T-Vetch. That's cute. Hey, Lucky Stone, how you doing? I saw your video today. Thank you. You're. I'd love to get you on sometimes. You have great thoughts and great thinking. But to finish out this thought, so if time ceased to exist in the construct that it is merely by the fact of motion, inertia, so is the equation that Einstein tried to tell us about time, well, time would only be then relevant where motion and inertia are present. If you're in a place, state of consciousness, or plane of existence where motion no longer exists, because motion is actually friction. Motion is going against the grain, so to speak, getting out of the cocoon. It's the only way motion exists. There has to be a resistance to motion, right? Or otherwise motion cease. So if you look at the inertia, the perpetual inertia machine, consciousness would be that, would it not? Is not consciousness the perpetual motion machine that man has tried to replicate? If we believe there's an existence prior to birth and after the exit, then that would clearly define consciousness as inertia, right? Then consciousness could then be defined as motion. Therefore, it would lead to conclude that without consciousness, time really wouldn't exist. Deep thoughts. So thank you, Lost in Space, for that great tidbit of, because that's thinking outside the box. I mean, when death comes, and it will for all of us, the question is, how do you address it? Do you approach it as a foe, or do you approach it as a friend? Is it the horror of an ending, or is it the blissing of a beginning? Just depends on how you look at it, right? Time is of the essence. It's interesting. If you look at that B3 and you can take that down, that's interesting. So something to give thought to. Oh, we're going to give thought to a lot of stuff today. Had a chance just to, yeah. Happy birthday to everyone who's having one today. Anniversary as well. It really is an interesting perspective of how you approach death. Vincent Price, who made his moniker, I think channeling Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know what Edgar Allan Poe was like, but his writing showed that he was in a very interesting place. But anyway, Vincent Price, his whole moniker was that death was fear. Death was the grave. Death was the end. It was filled with morbid afterthoughts. And really what the person was never really understanding was that really what he's saying is that, hey kids, there really is something afterwards, but this is my take on it. But nevertheless, and if you look at many of the drawings back in the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, you go all the way back into even Mesopotamia. Death, feared. Actually, I think if you looked at death as an ally, it's not going to be that traumatic, baby. I mean, you've got the golden ticket. Yeah. Hey, Amberex. Hey, Big Al, how you doing? Good to see you. And hello, Mr. Perry. Hey, it's so interesting that you're talking about ZZ Top. I was just listening to them. Anyway, so there you go. Something to think about. We'll think about a lot of it. I've been reading this book again. End All Be All is an interesting guy. It's his pseudonym for his writing, but his whole premise on the energetic war against humanity is that, folks, Lynn and I were out, we had a chance to really have a chance just to talk, and we were talking how all the evidence shows that we have recently been invaded, Earth, and specifically Homo sapiens. They took us over. You can say that there was a nefarious purpose here. Obviously, there is. When you hide, when you do everything to elude being straightforward, front and center, so to speak, that's your enemy. That's not your friend. Don't buy the bullshit that, well, we're protecting you. No, I quit, those fairy tales a long time ago. the fact that you're eluding me in my pursuit, and many sapiens are in the same pursuit. All of us here are in the same pursuit. We want to know who the son of a bitch is behind the curtain. And Endall presents his findings that, and I agree with him. All my research is showing the same thing. Been on this rock, 23,400 plus days. And, I have read quite a bit and seeking, and it's clear to me the current state of what Homo sapiens are. We are a conquered race, a species. They came in and rewrote the whole script. We're going to be talking about some of this today because it's interesting. I read a lot of the comments, I read a lot of the emails, and folks, if I don't respond back, don't get upset. It's just, I try to budget my time and try to get back there and respond. But here's the point. This worm, and this is what I call it, it's a worm. You could easily term it a virus. It moved in. We've talked about this last Thursday. We kind of was alluding to the fact of the Matrix, the great scene with Mr. Smith and Morpheus. And Smith accurately described Homo sapiens, humans, if whatever human is. We're a virus. So if we're a virus that walks and talks and thinks, what makes you think there isn't a greater virus of even a higher design? We have to feed off of other living things. We have to have things adapted to us in order to survive. Well, if we do it to other living things, what makes us think that we're not being done to it as well? I mean, if you're screwing somebody, you need to be prepared to be screwed as well. It's just reality, folks. So let's think about this. I had so many emails, and I read some of the comments as well left on the message boards. A lot of you can't handle this whole idea of all the gods are only the gods of the sapiens. We have known no gods of man prior to sapiens. All the writings are sapiens. All the mind beliefs are sapiens. Everything is sapien, which tells me sapiens, we're not bright. We're really not. Someone wrote me an email, said, I loved how you described all of humanity as simply dumbass. She said, do you really think that that is it? I wrote back, I said, yes. I mean, if you haven't evolved in 200,000 years, if you're trying to tell me that, humans have become somehow ascended to a higher level, I wrote her back. I said, no, the evidence shows all the opposite. We still kill, we still murder, rape, screw our neighbor, we lie. The thing about humanity is that we are masters of liars. Was recently done in study.com. The average person in an average hour tells at least 3.5 lies in an hour. You tell me, is that ascension? And we completely whitewash it. Well, now, Wayne, you have to take in consideration of people's feelings. No, you're a liar. You're lying to them. Well, sometimes it's for the best. No, you're still lying. But getting back to humanity, as far as we've advanced in 200,000 years, we only learned how to start talking about 70,000 years ago. So I don't know what the hell we were doing for, the 130,000 years. I guess, grunts and groans were it. When people get in the midst of coitus, maybe that's the communication we used. I don't know. But, so 70,000 years we learned how to lie. Because I don't think you can lie to someone without speaking. Think about that. What are you going to lie in sign language? I guess that's possible. A little more difficult. Not saying it can't be done, but still. And then I think that if you're really mute, the larynx didn't develop, I don't know. What about this? Instead of being the lower intelligence, what if these other genuses of man were telepathic? If you're telepathic, you can't lie. There's a sign that when you cross over, because telepathy is how you're going to communicate, no liars allowed. Everyone can read your thoughts. No more mask. But let's get back to the point. 200,000 years. We're doing the same thing our ancestors way back when did. Where does ascension take place in here? When does ascension take place in the collective consciousness? Because all the evidence shows just the contrary. We're still enslaving one another. Do you know? Let me show you how bad it is, folks. This really chapped my ass when I read this, and it's probably going to chap yours as well. So these Black Mirror devices that we have, right? There's a score on each and every one of us that you will never see. There are ways you can see, but for the most part. So there is a score being used. Companies like CoreLogic, TransUnion, Equifax says that scores they peddle to landlords can predict whether a potential tenant will pay the rent on time, be able to absorb rent increases, or break a lease. Large employers use HireVue, a firm that generates an employability score about candidates by analyzing tens of thousands of factors, including a person's facial expressions and voice annotations. Other employers use Cornerstone Score, which considers where a job prospect lives and which web browser they use to judge how successfully they will be at the job. Folks, this is evolution you are seeing. We're all in it. We are evolving. Many religions hate the idea of evolution. Why? Because it takes away all the powder puff. The reality is that our species is changing right now. I showed you that last Thursday. But get this. So you have what they call a surveillance score, a digital mugshot. 2.5 years ago, I did a program on the digital surrogate. I told you how this was being done. So the surveillance scoring is the product of two trends. First is the rampant and mostly unregulated collection of every intimate detail about your lives. amassed by the nanosecond from smartphones to cars, toasters to toys. This fire hose of data, much of which we surrender voluntarily, includes our demographics, income, facial characteristics, the sound of our voice, our precise location, shopping history, medical conditions, genetic information, what we search for on the internet, websites we visit, and when we read an email, what apps we use and how long we use them and how often we sleep, exercise, and the like. That is a prisoner. I contend humanity is an enslaved races. All the races are slaves. And this validates it. We're in a digital prison that there is no escape. Even those who try to go off the grid, per se, you're not. Between what Elon Musk has been doing and along with Microsoft and who knows who else, with the low band orbit satellites that they're releasing by the tens of thousands, so many what people think in these globular clusters are UFOs, they're not. They're the low flying satellites out there. But in any case, the Earth is now becoming a completed grid. Even when you think you're living into the abandonment of the forest up in the Yukon or in the Amazonian forest, no. They know where there's humans. This is slavery. Now, the question is why? Who? What? When you think about this and you step back and look at this objectively, no human would really have any need for any of this information. I mean, seriously. How many times pass in conversations that we had back in the old days, you know, when you could sit around with a group and have a drink and laugh and, you know, not worry about infecting everybody, right? And we would have those conversations where we would discuss things like sometimes you hear people talk about past relationships, and inevitably someone will say, "What's way too much information. Thank you very much. Don't need it. Way too much." That's because humans, we compartmentalize. We only take in literally about less than a third of the reality. The brain isn't a remarkable organ. Anyway. But we've all said that's just way too much information. So the way I look at this, the Bezos, the Schmidts, the Zuckerbergs, the rest of them, they're probably, if they are human, their replicants are already here. They're no longer human. And if they are, then they have been taken over. Because no human really needs this. So that directly or indirectly implies alien. No one needs this kind of information unless you're a prisoner, where you have the illusion of free choice, free will. You're in a jail cell that has no walls, no locks. They don't need to be. In the video I did, we worship what? I told you, folks. Nearly 4 years ago, I told you that it was here. Others are seeing it now. They're writing books on it. I contend that I think that it came in, I really do think about 6,000 to 8,000 years ago. I don't know what the plan is. obviously they feed off of us in a way that we're still not comprehending. We're getting closer. But this is interesting because, again, let's just look back at this. Let me pull this up. Yeah, here we go. Let me get this, and then we'll get here, and then he'll do this. So we talked about sapiens, right? And the timelines. So this whole era we're in right now, you can compare it to the past, us. Look what's happened. A very, very short period of time, folks. We've been invaded. Our captures are here. They're running the governments, soon to be running the camps. They're here. And you can look at the general condition of Homo sapiens, if you want to be that detailed. We're a slave species. They have a war that's coming because humans, again, we went through this on Thursday, and people can't handle this. This so busts the paradigm wide open. There is no God in the aspect of what you think the Judeo-Islamic, Christian, Hindu, Taoism, Buddhism, whatever. And if there is, they're invaders. They're part of this invading force. Whoever this was, they've been here. It doesn't appear that the Neolithic period, the Paleolithic period, was impacted like it is now, which we would call the modern age. The ancient age is where many minds are thinking this is when they invaded us. We have evidence of this in every religious book that this was an invasion from outer space, alien. Even Yahweh arrived on his kivav, that's his spaceship. Moses, the reason why he radiated was he was exposed to radiation poisoning, if such a creature existed. We see them in the skies. Our history is replete with their descriptions. And man has not progressed. If the modern man is what we are supposed to have been, we have failed miserably. All the constructs, folks, your God, angels, fallen angels, demons, Satan, Lucifer, good, evil, is nothing more than a false memory implanted into our species, genetically written in to our genetic code, almost virtually impossible to break. But again, these are not the smartest beings. We know our genetic codes are changing. Our DNA is changing. And as any software developer will tell you, code has a way of bringing the ghost in the machine in. But nevertheless, let's not get off the point. If you believe there's a devil, if you believe there's a God, if you believe there's a heaven, if you believe there's a hell, if you believe that there was a garden, if you believe that there was fallen angels, that there were, these some type of, war in heaven, you are infected. I was infected. I'm still taking the antidote. But if that's where your belief systems are, Lord, and you've got all this so-called spiritual hierarchy, you are infected. And they don't want any vaccine. Let me go to another point, bringing this out a little more. Allow me. So let's carry on in this vein of thought. We've all heard about the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Upon these two pillars, every contaminated version that man has thought is toward as far as holiness, sacred texts, beginnings are concerned, this is part of the virus. You see, here is how it's set up. Every religion is predicated on this, by the way. This is not just Judeo-Christianity. This is Islam. This is Hinduism. This is all. Even modern day metaphysics, ascending. So the story goes that the humans who supposedly had free choice, when they rejected their captors and tried to make the prison break, they went to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The story is that they ate of its fruit and their eyes were open. Now, we've got a huge freaking hole here, a big problem. Because you see, the story goes that the captors took away their essence, which was supposedly this other tree that gave immortality for both you and me. But they denied us. But here's the problem. So this tree of knowledge, follow me, would not man be some kind of freaking God genius if he had in fact ate of this tree? Would he have not been endued with all the knowledge? It's called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, what would be the intelligent quotient equivalent of a person who knew every freaking thing there was on the subject of knowledge, and particularly on the pendulum swing of good and evil? And by the way, we don't know by whose definition good is or evil. We're just given the nouns, said here, you do with it. But my question comes back to, would not then of Adam and Eve been, what, their IQ, what, 1 million? 10 million? How could you have even measured their IQ? But all the evidence says the different. I mean, think about it, folks. Modern man in 2020 are dumbasses. We've got our heads so far up our asses right now, and there is a crap storm coming. Homo sapiens sapiens. Now, if our ancestors, this is what they're saying, this is what all religions are built on, what happened? We don't have all the knowledge. We don't have it all figured out, do we? We don't even know what good is. We don't even know what evil is, because we have to have someone hold our hands, and we have to, like a senile person who no longer has cognitive thought. You merely do what the puppet master says. Occult knowledge lost. But buried within this, I believe, is the codex of what probably did happen. We may never actually know, because again, our captors are doing everything they can, and if they can't stop us, they're going to kill us. Count on it. But again, I want to ask the question to the group today. I mean, it's a legitimate question. If we ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, then should we not have been God? I'm just asking. If we had all the knowledge, now they took the tree of life away because of the genetic manipulation. And like I said, there is something here. We just have to view it from a different perspective and a different set of glasses. But seriously. And the interesting thing that's lost in all here, it would have never been man to begin with. It was the woman who ate first. She was the one who was transformed first. The man came second. Now, I wonder what Eve, or if it could have been Lilith, what happens to a mind that is suddenly filled with all knowledge? You're going to change. I think you change physically as much as you change inside. But they don't want to tell the story that way. Why? Well, because if they do, we're going to find out. I never had these thoughts and these questions in the nearly 50 years that I was a Christian, the 30 years that I was, a minister of the gospel, preaching in the prisons and the hospitals, laying hands on the sick and seeing them get healed, working in large conventions, laying hands on cancerous patients, others that were near death, and seeing miracles. But I realized it was never no God, never no savior. Man doesn't need a savior. What we need is to be freed from our captors. And it's not done through religious ideology. It's done through the fact that we're a unique species. Now, there may be other humanids bipedals out there in the universe. But for us, we are unique. They're changing us. And folks, the evidence is everywhere. How long have you, your children, maybe your parents, I don't know, your age, how long have you been eating genetically modified organisms? How long? Decades. You see, we're at the end of the experiment. And that's why many of us are waking up to this, realizing what's happening. And at any time you begin to screw with Mother Nature, it's not nice to screw with Mother Nature. She can be a real bitch. There's consequences. You see, as much as they would like to see the degeneration of our species, there's that mutant factor. Many of us in here would be probably considered mutants, because mutants, they're not the ones that fall in line. They may look at you and act like, sure, no problem. But inside, we're already using our magic. We're using our abilities, realizing we started out with 5. Many of us now have 6 and 7 senses. And I believe those coming behind us, depending how long this is going to play out, will start developing 8th, 9th senses as well. And I think that that's probably their biggest fear. Now, the thing about it is, when they invaded us, and I don't know who they are, again, I think we have to redefine what life is. Earth is bombarded by billions and billions of viruses, bacteria from space. And it's not a foreign idea or concept that a species would be the smallest, would be the most powerful. In fact, there is a proverb that says the smallest will rule over the greatest. Now, if you look at this from an aspect of where does your consciousness reside? Follow me on this, folks, please. Where does your consciousness reside? If you're like me, I feel something in here, but I can't define what in here is. I mean, I know what I have going on up here. I know what I got going on here, but I can't tell you exactly where it is. Follow me on this. The fact is, your consciousness absolutely saturates every cell of your body. Now, follow me. If a species of a higher intelligence who no longer needed to be a bipedal, a humanid, but has the ability to literally transport itself, even if you go to the galactic waves, this is fast. It can attach itself to anything. And when it finds a planet like Earth, we become its food. And the fact is, all the evidence shows that humans were never created for any divine glory. The hardcore reality is we were manufactured for food. Humans are an excellent food source, high protein. We have the diversity of the chemicals in our bodies that if you consume it, it's no different than what we do when we consume a plant or an animal ourselves. We literally absorb its energy. Literally. See, the true power is here, not here, here. Now, if you were a virus of such complexity, you could take over a species like this, and apparently they did. Now, I guess you could debate as to when they arrived. I think all evidence shows that I think they came in right after the comet hit. And who knows? We don't think like they do. It's impossible for us to possibly even to comprehend what's taking place. But I think that that's it. Yes, T. Witten, we make excellent slaves as well. And when I remember when the epiphany hit me, and this has been years ago, with Genesis 2, 4, and 5. And when I saw that and read that, it was like I read it for the first time again. And I think I literally said, oh, shit. I mean, it just, when it hit my consciousness, there it was, right there in front of us. There was no man to till the soil. How many of you have ever walked behind a plow? I did once. Knew a farmer, and he had two jackasses, not mules, jackasses. You know, they're part horse, part mule. And I'm going to tell you what, brother and sister, that's some hard ass work. Ain't nothing easy about that. That's a slave. And again, if you look at these beginnings of these stories, I got a couple of books coming that, you know, more new revelation. But yeah, that's cool. It's just, I don't know. I had this conversation. I was out this weekend, and an individual who watches the channel, you know, and he come up and he said, man, he says, you're blowing my mind. I said, well, that's what I'm here to do. He says, no, you don't understand. You're blowing my mind. And I said, all right, so what's blowing your mind? He said, this whole sapien thing. I said, yeah. He said, no. And then, of course, you know, everyone's wearing masks. And he says, you don't get it. And I said, oh, I just made the video, so what am I not getting? He said, no, no, no. He said, this is blowing my mind. He said, we're not a bunch of people of different colors. We are a species. Shaking my head like, yeah, yeah. He said, now he's in his mid-20s. He said, this is changing my whole way I see things. And then when you begin to see us, and you have to look at us as a collective, not here in this group, but what's happening in the world. There's obviously some desperation taking place. There is an agenda that's at full tilt boogie, baby. And we've got to be ready for it. Well, you're welcome, Debbie. And BOSTO to you. But yeah. And when I begin to think about this even more, I keep on thinking to myself, okay, the virus, everything today, our reality has been completely altered in less than 4 months by the construct of a virus. Look what happened. I mean, something we can't even see. And look how it has impacted the world. In fact, our economies are collapsing because of it. You're going to see social unrest because of it. I mean, there's just, like I said, there is a SIHT, you know what I'm saying, storm coming. But I don't think it's something that we did. We're so easily to manipulate. There's times, folks, where I have to literally focus in because it's almost like I'm being dumped on with negativity of thoughts. It's like I'm in a place in my meditation, my spear. Oh, you guys should see my spear. I mean, it's far out, but it has this active force field. And there are times when it's almost like you feel like there's almost a focus of which I know are negative thoughts. I mean, I dismiss them as fast as they come in, but it still tells me that there is this viscous and many of you know what a viscous is. It's like oil. Oil is a viscous because it gets on you, and it literally just begins to cover you. And even when you try to wash it off, its viscous is it's still there. This is what I see happening. There's a lot of people that I've noticed they're dead inside. Blank stares, a lot I'm seeing. Like people are just merely going through the motions. I don't know. I think that's part of the virus. I have a friend who is in Hollywood, recently exchanged emails, and he says, you won't believe it out here. He said, it's really, he said, it's like something, I guess the best way I can say it is Joe versus the volcano. Remember when Joe got the diagnosis from the doctor? What did Joe have? He had a brain cloud. And my friend says that it's everywhere. He says it's like people are, there's a certain level of creativity that's being zapped. It's just, and he says it's really weird. And I told him about my idea that I'm reading on this virus that conquered humanity, 7,000-8,000 years ago. May have been longer. I don't know. It may have been more recent. It's hard to tell, because once they can get inside of us, and they already are inside of us. That's the thing. Every one of us are infected. And you have to literally become your own antivirus. That's what part of the awakening process is. That's why sometimes it's so traumatic, because you are producing antibodies against this virus that is literally infects every human being. I don't know if it infects the animals. It's a hard concept to even accept, but look, I mean, folks, we all know we don't have a memory. I don't know where we came from. I don't think we know where we're going. Lynn and I were talking last night, and she says, so tell me a little bit more about how you, she said, describing Homo cyberneticus. And I said, well, cybernetics, if you think about it, has been around now for nearly 50 years. And now the cybernetic revolution is everywhere. I mean, it's look how it does for people with amputees. More people have hip replacements, knees, artificial organs being grown. All of this is part of the cybernetics. And I said, when you look at what they're doing now, where Musk told us over almost 2 years ago, he said it's coming, neural net 2.0. And now we see Apple, Microsoft, Google, all of them are now working with the brain to machine interfaces. I think it's BMI, yeah, brain machine interfaces, BMI. I said, that's a transformation of a species. And she says, you're spot on. She says, from a medical point of view, she says, that's exactly the revolution of medicine now. The revolution of medicine has now eclipsed Homo sapiens' abilities to contain it. Our diagnoses, our longevity is now being run by an artificial intelligence. Could we say that artificial intelligence, and in a sense, is a virus? Why, sure. Look at what happens in the digital matrix. A virus can kick your ass, even if it's a cyber virus. If you've ever caught a virus, malicious malware, think about it, folks. It can not only be painful by causing you emotional distress, it can become very, very expensive. Yeah, yeah, Blazing River. Yeah, absolutely. And Stargate, yeah. But it's here. Militaries now have bio integrated soldiers. We now have the exoskeletons the soldiers will be wearing going into battlefield. Cloaking technology. I mean, the Chinese rapidly, I think getting close to a new genetically modified human soldier using cybernetics. So yeah, we're already there. And when we see the emergence of robotus multidimensionalists, yeah. Anyway, Debbie Bell, you said I'm fighting that right now. Yeah, I know the feeling, Debbie. It is so freaking true. And I mean, there's times where, the more that we talk about this, and there's other channels out there too. Rex is out there. There's just a many of them out there that are bringing more and more. I've seen new channels come in. People have their new aspects, and you have to listen to with an open mind, because none of us have the code yet. We're working hard towards it, but I believe our captors know that as well. And again, my big concern is I couldn't sleep last night because I was constantly being interrupted. That if you have an oppositional force coming against you, that you've already established a boundary, you're not going to, and I doubt if they're going to do the flight. No, I think the stakes are bigger. Earth is a hell of a prize to have. These gods, which we call gods, which are nothing more than aliens. And why is it that higher intelligence always has violence attached to it? Can someone please explain that to me? I thought freaking higher intelligence meant that you would be somehow much more docile and peaceful, like, hey, peace, love, and rock and roll, But hell no. No, the higher intelligence, they're all about slavery. They're about torture. They're about extraneous pain. Holy crap. I'm just saying. And, you look at this and it becomes very evident. Mankind is not in control of this earth. We're not even in control of ourselves. I mean, folks, they talk about a virus called COVID. Oh, no, no, no. We're looking at the wrong thing. I mean, people are going back crap crazy, folks. You just do a scan of the headlines, the oddities out there. It's getting intensified. People are literally, it's as though something else is taking over. I mean, and to me, that's clear evidence. We just have to redefine. And by the way, as I'm sitting here thinking, I just heard this. Isn't that how we define life out in the cosmos? An organism, right? We just think that because we have these bodies that somehow or another that is, representative of higher intelligence. There's nothing that validates that. And if a virus can kill us, obviously, that's a higher life form, isn't it? Well, think about it. If it can take your life by changing your very freaking own DNA, yeah. Okay. Today has been fun. Yeah, I had a lot of other stuff, but it's okay. It's tomorrow, Miss Trina will be on and a second look. We'll probably continue to get this because this is really, I think, where if we started really looking at this, um, I think we'd be quite amazed if everyone got together in what I would call this collective consciousness, right? That we have on the awakening side and realize that this is a virus. And if we started our concentration into attacking that virus through telepathic abilities, that as we begin to make connections, we begin to focus more. Hmm. I have the list, folks. I did work on it this weekend on everyone who wants to be part of the second experiment. We might have, I'll be putting out an email later this week. That's an interesting target. All right. Well, this has been fun. I hope y'all had fun. I did. Yeah. By the way, these are really cool beads. I have the link down there. Y'all really should check them out. What did I do with it? Here it is. The comfort beads. Yeah, Mark and Kathy. So anyway, by the way, I put Josh's, he has some designs. And if any of you have designs, he has some masks now with the BOSTO. Any of that, let me know. We'll just put it in there and people can have it. Well, thank you, Lost in Space. It was a great hour. I really enjoyed it myself. Yeah. Michelle, very good point. Yes. Yeah, I like that. Exactly. I think we can do this. Listen, if they did it to us, we can do it to them. Yeah. I mean, turnabout's fair play, right? I mean, I just can't consider it just to be, I mean, come on. I mean, how much shit karma are they building up, right? That's why I don't ever blame myself from it. I don't look at myself as a sinner. I look at myself as a lovable man. I'm a good looking guy. And you know what? I'm really a far out dude on the inside. I may be completely in between, but I know this. It's a groovy place. But then again, if they did it to us and if they're building up all this karma's a bitch. Could be electronic warfare. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with they are. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, well, this is fun, folks. I tell you, it's the highlight of my day coming here, spending it with you. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, all of you people. You're very beautiful souls, and just honored to know you, even if it's digitally. So, Bosto to you, and may favor continue to grace you and protect you until we meet again. All right, much love, peace.